Hello, this is Suzanne Wagner, and I thought I would just do a video about the energies that are happening on the planet at the moment. As a psychic, I hear a lot of stress, and there's more and more and more building, if you hadn't noticed. And I wanted to talk about it because we live in very interesting times, as the Chinese proverb says. And um, astrologically, it's going to get more intense. I'm not going to lie to everybody and say it's going to get less intense because it's not. It's actually getting more intense. We are being challenged to expand, and we are being challenged to learn how to hold love in a different way. We've been challenged to show up. I really believe that twice before in this reality, this dimension, that Earth has tried to evolve past this third dimensional density. Now, I know that there are a lot of teachings about the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, the 10th, 11th, 12th dimensions and all this stuff. And it's not that I don't believe that they are real. I just believe we're stuck here in the third dimension and that we are trying to evolve. And what keeps happening is we keep falling into the same trap and falling into hate and to fear and to negation and war and suffering. And what happens is that if you look at places that have been war zones for thousands of years, such as the Middle East, there's an energy that literally goes into the ground, and that energy festers, and that energy continues to kind of ignite or create a similar type of suffering, and it feeds off of that fear, and it feeds off of the hatred, and it feeds off of the separation. I know that the tools of consciousness about compassion and understanding and love are very, very real. And boy, if there was ever a time that everybody should be diving into those, it would be now. Because we are in these very challenging times, and we are in a place where we are at risk of losing compassion on a global level. There is so much suffering happening on the planet, not that there hasn't been suffering on this planet for a very long time, but because of technology and because of sharing and all of these things, it is kind of rekindling itself. It's a real trick to not be in denial of what is at the same time as trying to be honest and truthful, at the same time as trying to stay positive and compassionate, at the same time as trying to listen to your feelings and work with your feelings and what you're feeling, at the same time as trying to distinguish the difference between intuition and your feelings, which is really different, at the same time as not letting your mind run amok and position your being in such a way that you are perpetuating lies and you're perpetuating suffering, and you are part of the problem rather than part of the solution. And it's really difficult. It's extremely difficult to do. I'm not saying that this is something that's easy to do. I see people come in, therapists, psychics, healers, people of great influence, philosophers, teachers, that are exhausted. They're exhausted. Nurses, doctors, they are exhausted. There is so much happening, and so much is being demanded of people on so many levels. And they keep giving, but they also are not getting acknowledged for what they are giving. And it's really interesting. It's almost as if this energy has triggered everybody's mental, emotional, and spiritual dysfunctions. And the more it runs, the more crazy people start to act. The less centered they feel, the less balanced they feel, the less they make rational choices in their life. So what do we do? I mean, what do we do? Over and over again, I personally am very grateful for the fact that since I was about 16, I was meditating, doing yoga, using tools of transformation, doing Gestalt therapy, doing rebirthing, doing primal therapy, doing all sorts of tools, some that were awesome and some of them that were not, and listening to teachers and gurus. And so I feel like I have a lot of tools personally for me to deal with. So I can kind of flip around and say, well, that didn't work today. Let's try this. And that didn't work today. So let's try this. And to kind of keep my own center. I think nature is so, so important to get everybody out of the office, away from their phones, away from the computer, though here you are sitting there listening to me. So, but to kind of find where you are supposed to be and where you're supposed to fit. Today I had an interesting experience that is always really tricky for me. Because I'm a psychic and I'm a professional psychic and I do this as a job, I try my very best to help people on lots of levels. Every once in a while, somebody comes into the spectrum and everything in my body says I am not the right person for this person. I don't know why, but everything in my body goes, don't do it. You know, something is not right. This person needs a therapist. They don't need a psychic, which is one of the big problems that's happening right now, because people see psychics sort of as the poor man's therapist, and we really aren't a therapist. I mean, we can give insight and understanding as to why something's happening, because you can see it in the astrology, you can see it in the numerology, you can see where the problems overlap between two different people. But then there's the work that the person has to do to change themselves and how they're responding to a situation or a person. And that takes time. I mean, that takes time. One of the things that I learned from my teachers was that there's a huge difference between healing and, kind of spiritual expansion. Healing means that you're really, really suffering and you have a great wound, and healing takes time. Healing is very slow. That's why you go to a therapist. That's why you go to an ashram. That's why you go do a cleanse at a spa for 2 weeks. That's why you go to the hospital. There's moments that you need time, and the body needs time, and the emotions need time, and you need a lot of help. You need to be handheld and to walk through very complex patterns, and sometimes people don't understand the complexity of those patterns. As a psychic and as a person who teaches workshops on lots of things, I'm very aware of when something is really in a healing place, and while I can give an insight, I actually cannot handhold them through that. That's actually a therapist's job. That's a psychiatrist's job. That's a facilitator's job. That's a social worker's job. And that's what happened today, was that everything in my body said where this particular person was at. They needed a lot more than I have. Like, I don't have that. I don't have certain skills. I don't have time. I don't have the time to take people from the beginning of a process for the next few years through a process to the end point. And they don't know that they need that. I mean, that's the hardest part, is that they actually don't know that they need that. They just are afraid and they're scared and they're desperate and they want help and they're reaching out. And I honor that so completely when somebody reaches out. But I also try to pride myself on really listening to my intuition. And every once in a while, my intuition says, nope, this is not the right spot for you. And it's not that I don't want to, because I do, but it's that the angels say, you have a limited amount of energy and there are certain people that you have agreed to connect with in this lifetime. And every once in a while, somebody comes across that is not mine. It's not my charge. I'm not really supposed to be engaged with this person, and they need to be somewhere else. And I'm not a psychic that wants to just take people's money and manipulate them for the money. I morally, ethically can't do that. If I feel like I can't actually make a difference, and if I feel like I can't actually help, and if I feel like I'm not able or I don't have the skill set to do something, I say that I don't have that skill set. And there are so many psychics and healers out there right now that go, oh, I'm the greatest healer, or I'm the greatest psychic, or whatever. And, I know that there's all these, how can I say it, marketing strategies that are out there that push people to, tell everybody how fabulous you are and how great you are and all that kind of stuff. And I've never been that person. I have absolutely never been that person. I really believe that the people who find me are supposed to find me. But every once in a while, like today, there's a person that found me and I want to inspire them, but they actually need something else. And it's happened to me maybe 11 times in this lifetime. It doesn't happen much, but it does happen. And so today was one of those days. And it's really hard as a psychic because you feel the person suffering, and you feel their fear, and you feel their yearning, and you feel their desire, and you feel their wanting, and you feel their trying. And it's horrible. It's a horrible feeling for me to say, this is not the right place for you at this time. And my suggestion is to go in this direction. And every time I do this, somebody will send me a card later and say, thank you so much for being so honest. And thank you so much for, kind of saying, I think you need this rather than you. And they actually thank me. And that makes me feel so much better afterwards. But I think the reason that this got to me today was simply because there is so much going on, and there is so much suffering happening on the planet, and people are in distress, and you want to help. You really, really want to help. And it's almost as if right now, like, insanity has taken over, and everyone's darkest fears are churning around on the inside and starting to emerge on the outside. And while it's great for people to pay attention to this and to go, oh my gosh, I'm not healed yet, I still have to work on stuff, which is awesome. It's really wonderful when you can admit that to yourself, and I admit that to myself a lot. It also is really a difficult thing to try and figure out what to do. And I know that people use the internet and they use these videos as a way to, get inspired, to get motivated to kind of move forward. And I go back to something Pema Chodron said, and she said, people come to Buddhism and they instantly meditate. Meditate, and instantly they get a peak experience. They get this incredible aha, this incredible insight. They see something totally different, and they're forever changed. They're forever transformed. And she said, that never happens to me. I love that. She's like, that doesn't happen to me. I'm really good at sitting in the Shempa. I'm really good at sitting in the misery of something and just telling myself the raw truth about that. And she's really good at sitting with herself in the truth of something. And that takes tremendous center, because right now I find that a lot of people are out there looking for videos that give them a short peak experience so they feel better, because they feel so miserable. They feel just totally, totally miserable. And while I support that, because everybody deserves a break, what my experience is that in front of us, all of us, every single one of us on the planet that is alive has a lot of work to do. And I really do believe that we are here at this time because we said we would. And so it's not about running around on the internet and listening to all this, I call it airy-fairy. I call it airy-fairy, mystical, magical la-la that has been, somebody has learned marketing and is designed to rope you in and hook you in. I am not that girl again. I believe if you found me, you're supposed to find me, and I'm supposed to inspire you in some way. But I've also learned in doing this and being on video and being on YouTube that sometimes my job is like Grand Central Station, which is what it was today with this woman, that my job was actually to point her in another direction. So my job was to say, go over here and, get on this train. Don't get on the psychic lady train. Actually go over here. And it's more work. I mean, it is more work. I hate it too. I hate it when it's like, oh man, what I'm up against, I need help and I need a lot of help. And I think that we all need each other for sure. But because there is so much pain on the planet right now, I also think that we have to pick and choose the suffering that we can actually take on and we can actually make a difference. It's really important to kind of know as a being what your gift is and to give that gift, but to not pretend that you have a gift that you don't actually have. And that's what I see. And it's happened to me too. I mean, I had teachers that were like, oh, if you come and do this workshop, you're going to be forever transformed and everything in your life will get fixed and blah, blah, blah. Well, that never happens. I mean, yes, you get insight and you get some clarity and you get some movement, but there's still a lot of work to do. There's still always a lot of work to do on the inside. And we live in a society where everyone wants the shortcut. They want the pill to feel better. They just want to feel better. And I'm not interested in feeling better. I know that sounds crazy. I'm interested in telling the truth. I'm interested in being very authentic and real with you guys. I am interested in giving tools and insights that you can work with so that you can move forward. I think relationships are a very complex thing and they're very hard to navigate. There's something about this time astrologically, probably for me, so I don't pretend that this is everybody. But where like relationships from the past have come around and they've come back into the mix and each person has gone their own way and then now they've come back and they're different and there's more authenticity and there's more connection and the love is still there. The love is absolutely there. The understanding is there because there's a calmness and an acceptance. And that you recognize each other from the standpoint that we are all spiritual family and that we came in to trigger each other. We came in to upset each other. We came in to break each other's hearts. We came in to force each other to grow up. That there wasn't anybody out there that was going to rescue us, that we were going to have to rescue ourselves. And that is what's happening right now. I mean, what's happening in the world right now, that we're going to have to clean up the ocean. We're going to have to do that. I mean, that's just as simple as it gets. We are going to have to stop using plastic. We are going to have to do that. We're killing the planet. We are going to have to stop using nuclear energy. When there's so many other options, why are we even doing this? Because somebody with a lot of money has manipulated us into believing something. We are going to have to do very, very hard work to break the chains that have been yoking us to particular patterns and beliefs and behaviors that actually no longer serve anymore when there are better options. We have to evolve past the place of comfort. And whenever you do that, you move into discomfort. And there's a lot of discomfort right now. I'm so happy that my fabulous husband is a solar engineer and has been one for 30 years and has been trying to beat the drum to get everybody to go, this is going to work. This is really going to happen. This is the easy answer. And it's incredible how people make up crazy stuff about solar and, oh, it won't work. It won't work. I won't run my hairdryer. I'm like, yes, it will. It's crazy what people want to believe because they don't want to change. And some changes are so simple, like solar is simple. It's not even that hard. It doesn't even require a lot of effort on anybody's part, except everybody jumping on the bandwagon and saying, we just want solar. It seems sort of simple, right? But in order to do that, we have to break the yokes of powerful people that have money and influence that keep feeding our heads with stuff that is now in direct conflict with what is true. And that's what's happening. That's what's causing this problem right now. That's what's causing the suffering, is that somewhere inside of our core, we know there's another answer. There's a better answer. There's a different way. And we keep being told to do the same old thing. And then we keep seeing the suffering and the dysfunction that that's causing. And then we keep seeing people standing up and being mowed down with bullets in other countries. And it can't keep going like this. And, you know, what is it going to take for us to change? I think it's time for everyone to kind of say, we just have to do this differently. We have to do lots of things differently. We have to do energy differently. We have to do governments differently. We have to listen to the people. We have to do healthcare differently. We have to really support and listen to the farmers. I mean, I try and do my little bit. I know that, you know, it's like this tiny little bit, because the soy farmers are suffering and they lost their entire contract to China, and now China is buying soy from Russia. I just said, I'm eating soy 4 times a week, and I'm going to make sure that all the soy that I buy is from America. I don't know what else to do. I mean, it's like, you know, you can make a choice that supports those farmers. You know, how can I support the farmers markets? All these little individual farmers that are trying to do organic. I mean, you know, that's really important. How can I just not use plastic bags at the produce department and simply just put the produce in a something else, like a little bag you made yourself, or a little cloth bag? I mean, why can't we just do that? Because we have to think, and we have to become more awake, and we have to become more aware. And every action, instead of being lazy and just going to the market and going, oh, I want cherries, but now I need a plastic bag, to simply say, I'm going to always have bags with me, and I'm going to think ahead. And I think that's what being a grown-up is about. I think if you have children, you have to think ahead. So why can't we do that if we're grocery shopping and think ahead? I know it's hard. Trust me, how many times have I turned around and driven all the way back home to pick up my bags because they were in the other room or something? I mean, it's like, is it inconvenient? Yeah. Is it inconvenient that turtles are suffocating on plastic in the ocean? It's more inconvenient for them than it is for you. So I feel like the moral compass has tilted very far off the center line. And the moral compass now says, you know, your choices and actions, my choices and actions, are either helping the planet or causing more suffering for the planet. And I don't want to cause more suffering because it creates karma. And I already have enough karma. Thank you so much. I'm trying to get rid of my own karma. I don't need more karma by killing the turtle. I mean, it's like I have to start being conscious of every single action that I do. And how do those actions influence everything and everyone around me? It's exhausting. I am not going to lie to you. It's exhausting to stay that fully present. But I think it will also force us out of this use pattern and into simplicity. And what do you really need? I mean, really, what do you really need in this moment? So that's my thought for today. We'll see if I put this video up or not. I might just go, oh, everybody will think I've lost my mind. But if this video is up and you happen to listen to it, thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.